Hey Internet, Eric here again. If you saw my last video, you saw that I reviewed the Star Wars Christmas special. Or actually the Star Wars Holiday special. It doesn't fucking matter what it's called because if you watch the video, you know that I think it was a piece of shit. So to wash that horrible taste out of my mouth, I'm doing another You Hate It, I Don't video. And since it's, what time is it? It is 12:18. So it is technically New Year's Eve. I am doing a New Year's Eve themed You Hate It, I Don't. Now, if you're new to this channel, You Hate It, I Don't is a concept I thought of where I feel I'm in the minority of liking a film. And everyone else hates it. Or at least people who do enjoy it, like it, and you know that group is very, 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 very small. Now, I honestly, off the top of my head, can only think of two movies that are New Year's Eve themed. One is New Year's Evil, which is this shitty ass slasher film from the 80s. It's not that, because I hated that film. The other film is the film I'm going to talk about now. And I'm trying to think. I try to defend this movie as much as I can with my buddies at work. And trying to think of the conversation. The conversation was I was defending this film, and I'm saying, you know what, it can't be all that bad. I mean, it's not Howard the Duck bad. And then my friend says, yeah, well, that's like comparing a skin rash to the Ebola virus. So, with that being said, You Hate It, I Don't. New Year's Eve theme, Ghostbusters 2. Alright, now this came out in 1989. Obviously the sequel to the fantastic hit Ghostbusters. And it stars the same cast: Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Rick Moranis, Andy Potts. We got Sigourney Weaver. And joining this group, we have basically the only one worth mentioning is, what the fuck is his name? Peter McNichol as Janosz Poha. Now, this movie, like, I'm going to say it once. If you're new to my videos, it's filled with spoilers so I can help describe what's going on in the film. Now, that's the only time I'm going to say it. Now, Ghostbusters 2 is also still directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, who did the first one. And the first one was great. The first one had lots of charm, great chemistry between the cast. Special effects were great for the time. And it made a shit ton of money. So what do you do when you make a film and it makes a shit ton of money in the theater? You make a sequel. And it didn't come out so well with critics, with fans. So what does that mean? It means I fucking love it. So, Ghostbusters 2 takes place, I believe, 5 years after the original. And apparently all the Ghostbusters, Ghostbusting is done. Because after, saving New York City from the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and all the other spirits and destroying, half of a high-rise, City of New York, in true New York fashion, sues the Ghostbusters. They go bankrupt. And now, to make ends meet, Egon has gone back to being a scientist. Peter Venkman hosts some type of fake psychics TV special. And, let's see here, what the fuck? Ray and Winston are now making appearances as themselves at birthday parties to make ends meet. And Ray is also owning like an occult bookstore. Now, we meet Sigourney Weaver, and she has had a child since the last film, named Oscar. And what we find out is, in the opening scene, she's pushing Oscar in like a baby carriage, and it rolls through some slime that's come up through a crack in the sidewalk. The slime takes control of the baby carriage, and it gets away from Sigourney Weaver, Dana Barrett, and goes out into heavy traffic and stops. And of course, she calls Egon, and Ray comes in, and they try to investigate. She wants to make sure that Peter doesn't know. Peter is, Bill Murray, and Egon is Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd plays Ray. You know, Ernie Hudson, he plays Winston. Rick Moranis is back as well as Lewis. Anyways, it's Ghostbusters 2. You've seen the first fucking movie. You know who everybody is. Deal with it. So they examine baby Oscar, and Oscar's perfectly healthy. They examine Dana's apartment. Everything seems fine. And Peter finds out that, Dana's involved, so he weasels his way in. Because, within the 5 years, Peter and Dana had broken up. Dana had gotten married, divorced, had baby Oscar, what have you. Now, as this is happening, we find out that Dana is no longer with the orchestra that she worked with, and she's now working as a restorer of famous paintings in like the New York Museum of Art or something. And her supervisor is Janos Poha, played wonderfully, bad accent and all, by Peter McNichol. And eventually, long story short, we find out that there's a river of slime flowing under New York City. And this river of slime is caused by all the hatred in New York, which is why there's so much. And there is a painting in the New York Art Museum, or whatever, of Vigo the Carpathian. And he's this warlord from, I believe it's the 1600s. I'm not going to check Wikipedia right now. You can do that on your own time. And his spirit lives on in the painting. He was this brutal, brutal warlord. And he eventually comes to life in front of Janos, and he possesses Janos, or mind controls him. And he says, I can come back, I can come back to life, but it has to be through the body of a young child when the clock strikes midnight between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So he obviously put 2 and 2 together. He's going to kidnap baby Oscar. So we got a rescue mission for baby Oscar to stop Vigo the Carpathian. We got the evil slime under New York City that's taken over. Eventually, Ghostbusters rescue mission. They stop Vigo. The end. Alright, that's the plot in a nutshell. There's more to it, involving a perverted, horny Janine, played by Annie Potts, who's trying to get in the pants of Lewis. Whatever. But that's basically it in a nutshell. Now, the reason why people hate on this is because, yes, I mean, think of it this way. It's like the movie Predator. Alright? Predator is like the perfect action movie of the 80s. Then you have Predator 2. No matter how Predator 2 could have turned out, it's still fucking following Predator. So you compare it, it's not going to be as fucking good. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. How fantastic The Dark Knight was, The Dark Knight Rises would not live up to its predecessor. And that's what we got with Ghostbusters 2. Now, there are some changes. Harold Ramis is more of a nerd here, instead of like a smart-assy type of character in the first one. And you can tell Bill Murray's trying to... They add a shit ton more of one-liners for Bill Murray. But I enjoyed them for what they were. I love how Ernie Hudson is a main character here finally, because in the first film we didn't see him for the first 45 fucking minutes. And we get him from the beginning all the way to the end. And he is a very likable character. His chemistry, I mean, he's around Ray a lot and Egon a lot. He's very, very well done. I love the scene where they actually have to go underground and they're investigating the river of slime. But before they do that, they're down an abandoned tunnel for trains, And then what's really good here is, there's good tension, and it's very, it's got a very eerie, spooky feeling. And, the train tracks have been abandoned for years after a huge train wreck, obviously. And then you hear the train whistle, and you hear the chug noise, and then, great scene. I love it. Ray and Egon jump out of the way, but Winston, frozen in fear, stands there and like a deer in the headlights, and you have the train fucking coming right at him. he's frozen there, and you see him shaking, and he's all afraid as the train is going through his body. And, you know, his fucking helmet flies off, and it looks like his hair is going a little white. And, you know, he's fucking frightened. Great scene. It's really cool seeing Ernie Hudson scared. Because any other time you see him, he's like this scary, like, intimidating black man. And he probably just shit his pants. What was great is right before that, there's the same scene. And this is a little more spookier and somewhat graphic than the first film. So it was a nice change of pace. Was, you know, they're walking down the train tracks, and suddenly, like, these decapitated heads are on spikes, you know, in their faces, scaring the shit out of them. Great. It does seem like the special effects have improved a little since the first movie, so that's a step up. There is a scene where the Ghostbusters, before they find the River of Slime, they are down a manhole. You know, they send Ray down the manhole, down through a hole that they've chiseled through. They're pretending to be construction workers, and they sent Ray down through a giant hole that they've drilled through to check out what's going on down, you know, underground. And of course, you know, Ray sees the River of Slime for the first time, freaks out as they're pulling him up, and he kills a power line, and all of Times Square goes dead. You know, the lights. So they're now getting sued, and all the Ghostbusters are in court. And what happens is, it's great because their lawyer is Louis Tully, you know, Rick Moranis, and, you know, he's this bottom feeding, you know, bottom of the barrel shit lawyer, and they all know that they're fucked. They got fucking retarded Rick Moranis as their lawyer. And then eventually it goes from a very funny scene where Rick Moranis is trying to defend them, and is, you know, he's trying to talk about how good the Ghostbusters were, and he's like, one time I turned you into a dog and they saved me. That's his opening statement. And it goes from there, and it's very, very funny. And of course it cuts to a scene where we got these two ghosts of executed serial killers are flying through the air, and of course the Ghostbusters got to stop them. Excuse me, my nose. I love the scene where after you know, Ray's down there, he gets a sample of the slime, and they can tell that the slime feeds on negative vibes, but it also feeds on positive vibes. You do positive things, and it reacts in a positive way. So they play fun music. They pour it in a toaster, and they make the toaster dance, and it's stuff like that. It's very cute, very funny. I love the scene where they try to, you know, at the end of the film, you know, baby Oscar is kidnapped. Dana tries to go to save him. She's kidnapped as well, and eventually the evil slime has formed this giant cocoon or some type of barrier over the museum, so they can't get in. And so what the Ghostbusters do, they have taken samples of this slime and they've turned it positive, you know, by all the positive effects they've done to it, and they coat the entire fucking Statue of Liberty with this positive slime, and they play some wonderful music, and it brings the Statue of Liberty to life. And the Statue of Liberty you see walking, you know, down through downtown New York and everything, and it takes this fucking the torch is now lit with real flame, bashes through the top of the museum, and then Ghostbusters jump in to save the day. Love that scene. Every time I can't think of it off the top of my fucking head. I'll put in the title. I think it's like Your Love Lifts Me Higher, and I don't know the artist, what have you. I'll edit in the subtitles. But every time I hear that fucking song at work, I now think of Ghostbusters 2, which is cute. There's so many great scenes. I mean, I love how Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver, they're getting their relationship back together. Bill Murray is acting like a father figure to little Oscar. It's very, very sweet. I mean, he's like, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he still tries to help out and everything. It's just so fun. There's little bits that I like. One of my favorites, little bit, is after all the ghosts are coming out, and we see Cheech Marin. Cheech from Cheech and Chong, and he's like a dock worker. And the fucking Titanic has arrived, and the Titanic is there, and you got the big, hole in the hull, and you got everybody, walking around on the dock, and he basically just looks at his buddy and says, "Hey, better late than never." It's fun, all right. The scene where the lady's walking around with a mink coat, and it's kind of terrifying. I mean, think of it this way, she walks around with a mink coat, and she walks through the slime, and suddenly the minks come to life, and they're biting at her, and she's got to take her coat off and run away, and then you just see the little mink coat, scurrying away. It can be fucking terrifying, but it's also fun. That's what I don't get, why people shit on this movie. It's so much fucking fun. I mean, like I said, it has its faults with, perverted Annie Potts, who... This whole new persona of her comes out of nowhere, and I don't like that. And it does seem like sometimes Bill Murray, his jokes seem kind of forced. But it's still a fun movie. Vigo the Carpathian. We haven't talked about him yet. I don't know the actor. Like I said, I'll put his fucking name in the subtitle because it's this long fucking name. Whoever plays him very intimidating. He's got this, this deep voice and this long flowing hair, and and he's very intimidating when he's on screen. When he's talking to Janosch, and Janosch is basically standing there about ready to piss his pants. When he's basically telling, Dana Barrett, Sigourney Weaver, what he's going to do to Oscar. And then at the end, when they're trying to stop, the Ghostbusters are trying to stop Vigo. Vigo possesses Ray, and Ray turns around, and his head is turned into like this mixture of Ray and a possessed Vigo, and it's fucking frightening. Peter McNichol as Janosch. He's there strictly for comic relief, and he is funny as shit. I love this man. This man is... How could I say this? Bill Murray, he does his, like I said, they kind of force him to do these one-liners, and some of it works and some of it doesn't. Peter McNichol here is gold. I laugh every fucking time he's on screen. There's one scene, they're trying to figure out where Peter McNichol, Janosch, is really from. And I think it's Venkman asking me, where are you really, hey, Janosch, where are you from? From that, from that accent, I'm trying to figure out where you're from. And he looks at him, he's like, from the Upper West Side? From the Upper West Side? It's funny! If you don't like it, fuck you. I mean, like I said, I know maybe 2 people, other than me, one of them being my wife, who enjoys this movie. I honestly don't know. It just boggles my mind, internet, why this movie is shit on so much. And I personally think it's because of, like I said, the Predator factor. You know what? It followed such a fantastic film with the first one. And there's just no way it would live up to the hype. But you know what? After all these years, if you haven't given Ghostbusters 2 a chance, or if you hated it to begin with, and you haven't seen it since your first viewing, give it another chance, and I guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, my guarantees aren't worth shit, but it's so much fun. It's got a different tone as the first one. The first one, is a little bit more serious, if you can believe that, because it's about guys fucking hunting ghosts. But this one is a little bit, it ups the comedy a lot. A lot of it works, a lot of it doesn't. But you know what? I put this movie in, and I have a blast every time. Every time I watch it. Even the fucking theme song by Bobby Brown is fun. Even the little cameo by Bobby Brown is fun. I mean, yeah, fuck it. Go watch Ghostbusters 2. Give it a shot. Could be worse. Could be the remake that's coming out with Melissa McCarthy. Doesn't seem so bad now, does it? Alright, Internet. After that, I would like to say thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you are a subscriber, if you're just catching this video, and you like this, please check out my other videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. I say this line in every one of my videos. I'm probably not going to say it much more because it just gets old. But cheers and Happy New Year, as Peter Venkman would say.